You are listening from Lee Swift Book.
Hi, welcome back to Lee Swift, a channel dedicated to holistic personal growth through great books. If someone were to ask me, out of the countless books I've read, which one truly rewired my entire mental operating system, my answer would be immediate and unwavering: The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I first picked up this book in 2016. Over the years, I've reread it more times than I can count and written 2 or 3 reviews about it. Yet every single year, I still remind myself to open it at least once. Why does such a slim book carry such extraordinary weight? Because it isn't merely a collection of words. It is ancient Toltec wisdom, reinterpreted through the breath of the modern age, helping us see through the invisible chains that quietly bind our minds. Everything begins with the most important agreement, the foundation of true inner freedom. Be impeccable with your word. In Vietnamese, this idea is often simplified as use positive language, but its meaning goes far deeper than that. We're taught from childhood not to gossip, not to slander, not to create bad karma through speech. But it wasn't until I truly immersed myself in this book that I was struck by a sobering realization. Words possess a power no different from a spell or a curse that can follow a person for an entire lifetime. Imagine a child. A child is like a blank sheet of paper, pure, confident, unguarded. Then one day, an adult, irritated over something completely unrelated, looks at that child and casually blurts out, "Why are you so ugly?" Or, "Your nose is too big," or, "Your eyes are so small." In that very moment, a negative seed is planted in the child's mind. The child believes it. The child agrees with it. From then on, every time they look in the mirror, they no longer see their natural beauty. They see only the nose or the eyes that someone once criticized. That single sentence becomes an unspoken agreement, a cage that imprisons their self-confidence. Even more heartbreaking, as the child grows up, they often carry that same toxic mindset and project it onto others, perpetuating an endless cycle of verbal curses. There is a story in the book that has stayed with me for years. It is about a mother who deeply loves her child, but has just come home from an exhausting day at work, her head pounding with pain. Meanwhile, her young daughter is joyfully singing and dancing, because in that moment, her world is nothing but creativity and happiness. The child's singing, instead of being a source of pride, becomes unbearable noise to the mother's aching head, and in a moment of uncontrolled frustration, the mother shouts, "Be quiet. You sing terribly. Stop it right now." The truth is, the mother simply needed silence. Not that the child was a bad singer, but the child doesn't know that. She believes it. She agrees with it. From that day on, she never sings again. She becomes timid, withdrawn, and grows up believing that she must suppress her emotions in order to be loved. A new agreement has been signed, one capable of killing a talent, a free spirit, with nothing more than a single angry sentence. This struck me deeply because I, too, was once a victim of such words. I was a literature-focused student, constantly met with disappointed headshakes whenever it came to math. My family couldn't afford English lessons when I was young, and I still vividly remember my very first English teacher in 4th grade calling me to the front of the class and saying, "Such a nice name, yet you're so bad at studying." That sentence was careless, poorly formed, and thoughtless, but it burned a lifelong fear of foreign languages into my mind. I labeled myself as someone who was born bad at this subject or that subject. So much so that even years later, while pursuing my PhD in the United States, the ghost of being bad at math still haunted me. I was afraid to calculate small amounts of change in my head, terrified of getting it wrong. The turning point came when I finally confronted those old agreements head-on. I sat down and wrote out every negative judgment I had absorbed from childhood to adulthood. Then I asked myself, is this actually true? Or is this just a program I installed in my mind because I once believed someone else's words? That process was a battle, a conscious effort to break the spell. I relearned, restarted, and proved myself through real results. And today, standing as a university professor, publishing academic research in English filled with complex algorithms, I understand one fundamental truth. A curse only has power when we allow it to exist. Being impeccable with your word is not just about refraining from speaking ill of others. It is also about refusing to use words as weapons against yourself. It is the awareness to step away from toxic conversations, gossip-filled circles, and to protect the purity of your own thinking. When you begin to honor your words, you begin the journey of freeing yourself from chains you once believed were your destiny. And that is the very first doorway to true freedom. Stepping into the second agreement, we encounter what I believe is the toughest challenge of all, one that demands the greatest inner strength on this journey. Don't take anything personally. If the first agreement teaches us to be mindful of what we send out into the world, then this second one is the shield that protects us from what the outside world throws back at us. In some Vietnamese translations, it's phrased as not allowing yourself to be affected, and in truth, that is exactly the kind of psychological immunity every one of us longs to have. Have you ever wondered why an offhand comment from a stranger online, or a single frown from a coworker, can keep you awake all night? Don Miguel Ruiz points out a truth that is both brutally honest and profoundly liberating. Everything others say about you, whether glowing praise or harsh criticism, has absolutely nothing to do with you. It comes entirely from their inner world, their beliefs, their past experiences, and the wounds they are still carrying. When someone calls you a failure, it is not a fact about who you are. It is merely a reflection of how they define success and failure. And on the flip side, when someone praises you as a genius, don't let your ego soar too high too fast. Only you truly know what you've sacrificed, what you've endured, and what it cost to get there. If you rely on praise to feel worthy, you will collapse just as easily when criticism comes crashing down. Practicing this agreement has been a hard-earned lesson for me, especially as someone working in research and content creation. In academia, facing razor-sharp criticism is simply part of the job. To publish a scientific paper or complete a research project, I've had to endure countless review rounds, stacks of rejections, and feedback that can be painfully strict. If I had taken every rejection as proof that I was incompetent or lacking, I would have quit long ago. I had to learn to separate my work from my identity. That paper may not be strong enough yet. That methodology may still have flaws. But that does not mean I am a bad professor or a worthless human being. A piece of work is a separate entity. It exists to be dissected and improved, not to define my entire worth. The deeper I step into the online world as a content creator, the more this agreement feels like a life raft. Social media is an incredibly complex space, where narrow-mindedness and toxicity often overpower kindness. Every day, I receive comments, and not all of them are pleasant. Some people leave negative remarks, not because my content is flawed, but simply because their day has gone badly, or because something I said accidentally touched an unhealed wound within them. They attack to release their own pain. Without the awareness to recognize that this is their issue, not mine, I would easily absorb those toxins, letting them slowly erode my confidence and joy in creating. Whenever I'm faced with a wave of negativity or baseless criticism, I pause for a moment and remind myself, don't take it personally. That single pause helps me remain calm in the middle of the storm. I learn to listen objectively, filter out constructive feedback to improve myself, and gently smile as I walk past words that exist only to hurt. When you stop caring about what others think of you, you reach a profound state of freedom. You no longer feel the need to prove to the world how successful or capable you are. You simply live in your own space, doing what you believe is right, keeping your mind untainted by the crowd's narrow judgments. This kind of immunity doesn't appear overnight. It is built through steady, disciplined practice, strengthening your inner core day by day. Once you truly understand that everyone's starting point and perspective are completely different, those opinions become light as feathers. You may make mistakes. Your work may fail. But those are just milestones on your path of growth. They are not you, 100%. Separating your achievements from your self-worth is the key to never being knocked down by external turbulence. Let the world say whatever it wants, and you remain yourself, whole and free, within the circle of peace you have consciously built with your own hands. We now step into the third agreement, a psychological trap that almost all of us have set for ourselves at least once, only to fall straight into it. Don't make assumptions. Have you ever felt as if your mind were a TV series director, endlessly writing scripts, assigning roles and producing dramatic endings for situations that have no confirmed answers yet? Don Miguel Ruiz points out a curious human tendency. We love to project our own subjective interpretations onto everything, trusting what we guess in our heads instead of taking the time to seek real clarification. Imagine this. One morning you walk into the office, full of energy, smiling as you greet a coworker passing you in the hallway. But instead of greeting you back, they walk straight past as if you don't exist. Instantly, the assumption machine in your head kicks into overdrive. Oh, I must have offended them. Maybe they're holding a grudge. Are they trying to push me out? From that single assumption, you begin scrutinizing their every move, reading into the smallest gestures, even pulling others into your corner to gossip, seeking a sense of tribal safety, an illusion of protection. And yet, reality is often far simpler than the drama we create. That coworker might have been dealing with personal grief, or deeply lost in thoughts about an unfinished project, with no mental space left to notice anyone around them. Instead of asking a straightforward question to clarify the situation, we choose to sign an agreement with our assumptions, and then replay it over and over until it hardens into a distorted truth in our minds. The danger of assumptions multiplies in close relationships. We often fall into an irrational belief. We've known each other for years. We're married and live under the same roof. They should just understand me. We assume we don't need to speak, that the other person should be able to read our thoughts, know what we need, or sense why we're upset. But the truth is, no matter how deeply two people love each other, no one has supernatural powers. When we stay silent and hope the other person will guess correctly, and then feel disappointed when they don't, we trap ourselves in emotional suffocation. We begin to assume that if they can't read our mind, it must mean they don't love us or don't care enough. These interpretations are like layers of thick fog, slowly obscuring sincerity and intimacy. I grew up in a very traditional family, where communication was subtle and indirect. Say one thing, understand 10. When I started dating my now husband, who comes from a completely different cultural background, I carried that they should just know mindset into the relationship. In the early days, we had quite a few intense arguments simply because I sat there waiting for him to understand, while he had absolutely no idea what I was hoping for. At the time, my husband was running a restaurant, and he gave me an example I jokingly call the food lesson. Simple, down to earth, yet incredibly profound. He said that when customers walk into a restaurant, they have to clearly state what they want. No matter how specific the request, half-fried fish, no chili on this part but extra spicy on that part, they need to say it clearly, 100%. That way, the chef actually has a chance to deliver exactly what they want, and everyone leaves satisfied. But if customers say nothing and simply hope the kitchen will figure it out, the dish will almost certainly fall short, leading to frustration and unnecessary conflict. From that very ordinary example, I realized that true mental freedom requires us to relearn how to communicate. We must learn to express 100% of what we think and what we need, politely, gently, and with respect. It sounds simple, but for those accustomed to emotional restraint or conflict avoidance, it is an extremely difficult challenge. Still, if we don't speak our truth, we will never receive 100% satisfaction. Even if the answer from the other person is no. Simply having the courage to say it out loud prevents us from being crushed by the negative emotions we manufacture ourselves. Letting go of assumptions isn't just an act of self-protection. It is also an act of kindness toward the people walking beside you. Living in a relationship without transparent communication is exhausting and suffocating for both sides. When you dare to ask directly and speak honestly, you break the chains of overthinking and allow both people to exist in a freer space, one where truth comes first. That is the key to releasing yourself from the nameless heaviness your own mind has been quietly creating all along. Finally, we arrive at the fourth agreement, the principle that acts like the glue holding the other three together, sustaining their strength over time. Always do your best. At first glance, it sounds simple, almost moralistic. But Don Miguel Ruiz offers a definition of effort that is both subtle and deeply practical. He reminds us to always do our best, but never more than our best, and never less. Pause for a moment and reflect on this. If you constantly push yourself beyond what your body and mind can handle, burnout will arrive sooner than you expect. Exhaustion, frustration, and discouragement will follow, and what was meant to be a journey of inner freedom will slowly turn into a heavy burden. On the other hand, if you work half-heartedly, below your true capacity, then whenever results fall short, you'll be trapped in cycles of regret, guilt, and harsh self-criticism. The key here is balance. Our capacity is not a fixed number. It changes from day to day, sometimes even from hour to hour. There are mornings when you wake up energized, capable of accomplishing a great deal. And there are days when you feel drained or unwell, when doing your best may simply mean completing the bare essentials and allowing yourself to rest. As long as you know that, in that moment and under those circumstances, you did not give up and offered the best you had available, you will always find peace with where you are. This philosophy aligns closely with a concept I often share on this channel: living in the present moment. When you place your full attention on doing the task in front of you as well as you can, there's no room left to obsess over the future or regret the past. Happiness grows naturally because you're truly living the journey, not just fixating on the destination. Let me share a real turning point from my own life, one I will never forget, that illustrates how this agreement works in practice. Around 2020, I had just completed my PhD and was holding on to a burning dream: becoming a university professor in the United States. As you may remember, 2020 was a year of global upheaval. Universities shut down, budgets were slashed, and competition for faculty positions became fiercer than ever. For someone like me, a minority, a non-native English speaker, not born or raised in the US, the chance of landing a position at a major university felt like trying to squeeze through a narrow crack in the door. I applied for my current position at University of Arizona. I prepared meticulously, poured every ounce of effort and ability into the interviews. And yet, the initial result was a rejection. The hiring committee explained that they had narrowed it down to me and another candidate, ultimately choosing the other person because their research focused more specifically on the state of Arizona, while mine had a broader international scope. Of course, there was disappointment. But surprisingly, I didn't feel crushed or resentful toward myself. When my advisor wrote me a condolence email, expressing shock at the outcome, I replied with a short and honest message. I told him, "I truly feel okay, because I know I did my absolute best in this application. There's nothing left for me to regret." The moment I hit send, I felt a genuine sense of release. A deep calm settled in. I knew that regardless of the outcome, there was nothing more I could have done with the resources and abilities I had at that time. And then, something almost miraculous happened. About a month later, the university emailed me again. After further consideration, they decided to open an additional position specifically for me. They valued my work and wanted to bring greater diversity in both research topics and faculty perspectives. That was how I ultimately became a first-rank associate professor at the University of Arizona, a position I had already believed was lost. This experience taught me something profound. When you truly do your best, you begin to view both success and failure with remarkable gentleness. Success isn't just about reaching a goal. True success is the inner growth, the calmness that comes from knowing you lived fully through your own effort. Every honest attempt becomes a stepping stone, quietly preparing you for future opportunities, sometimes in ways you could never have predicted. Looking back at the entire journey, the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. They sound simple, but living them, embodying them, is anything but easy. Don Miguel Ruiz's book is not meant to be read once for entertainment. It is philosophical, abstract, and demands deep reflection rooted in your own personal experiences. Each person will apply it differently, but the shared destination is the same: breaking free from old mental spells and inherited beliefs so we can become truly free, no longer confined by others' judgments or expectations. I am still on this path myself, reminding myself of these 4 agreements every single day. Some days, I practice them well. Other days, I slip back into old patterns. What matters is that we don't give up, and that we stay aware enough to realign ourselves. I'm genuinely curious. Out of the 4 agreements we've explored together, which one resonated with you most deeply? Which one do you feel could unlock true freedom in your own life if practiced consistently? Share your thoughts with me in the community in the comments below. Thank you for listening to these reflections, and I hope this book becomes a key that opens a door to inner freedom for you as well. Until our next shared journey, take care.